this is going to be a video on how to get rich from scratch. Are you somebody who has no money at all? Or maybe you're middle class? Maybe you make a couple $100,000 a year and you want to learn how to get massively loaded so you can buy fat cribs, take vacations, have a big savings, buy organic food, supplements, jewelry, cars, bling, and you just want to flex on them fools. You want to get rich from scratch. Now, we're shooting this video from Mansion Row in Newport, Rhode Island. I got to tell you something. The old money that you see out here on the East Coast is so shocking. It is so extravagant. It is so over the top. So I'm sitting here as a new money social media influencer, and part of the reason why I come out to places like this or the Biltmore in Carolina is I want to see the gap. I want to piss myself off a little bit, and most of all, I want to see that it's possible. So we're going to be shooting this video on how to get rich from scratch right out here in Mansion Row in Newport, Rhode Island. I'd recommend you come out someday. Beautiful hike, little stroll along the beach here with all these Gilded Age mansions. Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Vanderbilts, those are the kind of people that have that East Coast old money. Maybe go out to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, which I just came back from. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Do this to inspire yourself, but also to make it real and also to see the gap. That is how you motivate yourself to get rich. And what we'll be doing in this video is motivating you while showing the exact skill sets that, in my experience, are what you need to get rich from scratch. So one of my favorite exercises to do in seminar is look around the room and figure out who it is that's probably struggling financially. In other words, who is broke. I can tell that by the look in the eyes, by body language. The big one is ability to maintain focus. I know if someone can't maintain focus in the class, they're probably broke. I can see what vibe they're in general, and from that I know if they're broke. I'm wrong maybe 5-10% of the time, but I can pinpoint who's broke within about 90% accuracy just by looking in their eyes. So that being said, I'll pick someone who's broke, and I might be wearing a very expensive watch or very expensive jewelry, and just to show them the shift in identity, I'll say, look, come on up here and just try on this watch or try on this jewelry. And I'll put the watch on them, I'll put the jewelry on them, and then I'll pull out on a search engine the price of what it is that they're wearing. And you just watch as their jaw drops and they feel scared, almost like they're fronting and being somebody who they're not. It's like, oh, I'm not allowed to be somebody who wears this. That's for the big rich people. That's not for me. And it's very, very sad when I see this because it's funny in some ways. It's actually hilarious. Like everybody's laughing. It's good vibes. You know, they're having fun. I think it's healthy. But it's also sad because like, bro, it's just some stupid collector's item that rich people collect. It's not even that valuable inherently, and it's not a big deal that you're wearing it. And then they start trying to find ways to, you know, to rationalize, like, oh, it's made of gold, which like even a $100K watch made of gold is probably 1,000 or 2 in gold, or oh, it has like a heft to it. That's not what makes it expensive. It's just some stupid rich person's toy and a collector's item. But you'll see them trying to rationalize it, then having this sort of weird, you know, shift in identity. Well, guess what? Where did I get that idea? I got that idea because back in the day, what I did was I moved from a small town, it was Ottawa, Canada, but I wound up spending a lot of time in Toronto, later in Los Angeles, New York, London, Sydney, different cities where people just had a lot more cash. And I was curious, just as a young person, what does it look like in these areas where people have all this cash? Now, I would go to places like the Hollywood Hills. And funny enough, in LA, you can get a Home of the Stars tour, and they'll take you all around the different homes of the stars up in the Hollywood Hills. They're very beautiful. They're very artistic, very unique. But of course, the next level is being out here in Newport, Rhode Island on Mansion Row. If you've ever seen the Biltmore, which is near Asheville in Carolina, the Biltmore is probably the biggest private residence home. I think it is biggest private residence home in North America. Well, these homes here are all like little bit smaller versions of the Biltmore, and they're just peppered along the water. So you start saying to yourself, wait a minute, this is where you fuckers have been doing your thing. This is where you guys are hoarding the money. And you see it, and then you're like, wait a minute, these are regular people, but somehow they live here. Another thing that I did was go to places like Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles, and I might just go try on a Tom Ford jacket or Dolce & Gabbana or Gucci, you know, Louis Vuitton. Now, you know what's hilarious? Here's what you don't even realize. the people at places like Dolce & Gabbana or Tom Ford, they don't call it rich people clothes. They call it the aspirational market, because people that live in houses like this don't wear Louis Vuitton. They don't wear a Rolex watch. They're hiding their money. People that are living in places like this actually typically will wear like a sweatshirt. They might even drive a crappy car, because at that point they're not playing offense and looking to project power. They have so much power that they have more to spare, and they're just trying not to get kidnapped, and they're just trying not to get sued. They're trying to downplay it, and their focus would more like, you know, be propagandizing the country to get everybody else not to get mad at them, as opposed to, you know, flexing or anything like that. They're trying to be low profile. Nonetheless, it's still very good to try on those aspirational clothes. So, you know, go to a place like David Yurman and try on some beautiful diamond jewelry, or go to Cartier and try on the love bracelet or the juste un clou bracelet or things like that. Go try this stuff and just see how it feels when you put it on. And what you'll realize is, oh, wait a minute, rich people wear this. I could wear this. Then here's the big key. You see what the price tag is, and what starts to happen is your brain reorients to think that that is normal. So I just wanted to jump in the video to let you know that I'm actually out here today on the beach, practicing what I preach, doing all the things that I tell you to do in these videos. I don't just do seminar videos where I tell you that you should work on your social skills. I go out and I meet and talk to people all the time. Now, as I'm out here doing this, here's what's funny. I've got students that are out here with me watching exactly what it is that I do, and they're kind of blown away by it. But then what I'm doing that I think is blowing them away even more is I'm showing them exactly how to do it so they can get the exact same result. Now imagine for everybody that's out here, for the rest of their lives, if they want to make a business connection, they want to network, they want to make friends, they want to work on making a genuine connection with someone very, very special, they know exactly what to do forever and ever because we came out here and did this work. Well, here's the thing. This work is not for everybody. You've got to be a very, very special kind of person to have what it takes to come out here and do this. You've got to be an action taker. You've got to be somebody who understands the value of knowing how to meet people anytime, anywhere, and realizing that your net worth is your network, okay? When you know everybody, what winds up happening? You make more cash, you're happier, and you wind up raising the vibe for everybody. It's an incredible skill. Well, what I've done is a lot of people have asked me about these trainings, and so I created a brand new website. It's actually brand new, with a very, very deep video that's really shocking. It's a shocking video. It's kind of an intense video where I go very, very deep on what it is that this looks like. Like, imagine meeting up with me personally and going out and doing this. It's a shocking, crazy experience. And on the website, in the video, I show exactly what it is that you can expect. It's really crazy. So if you want to see this, click the link below. And if you think that you're somebody that has what it takes, because this is not for everybody, and you've got to actually add value to the group, okay? In a situation like this, you can't be a leech. You've got to be someone who's bringing energy and is serious about results. If you think that that's you, fill out the form right on the website, and what I'll do is come and meet up with you in person, and we're going to learn this together. But again, that's only if you're the right fit. If you think that that's you, you click the link below, and we'll be sitting out here together doing this and change your life. Anyway, click the link, and back to the video. So back in the day, I lived with my buddy Mike. My buddy Mike ran a business that did $70 million a year in revenue, and while the time that we were living together, he actually got to $300 million a year in revenue. So Mike would go get Christmas tree lights for Christmas, and you know, just for a little bit of Christmas tree lights, he would pay about $50,000. To do a party, he would spend about $500,000 to upwards of $1 million. Now, you can imagine that when I'm living with Mike, and we were splitting on a big estate, actually an estate that's pretty comparable to these. And we had two different houses. One was at the top of Running Canyon. If you've ever been to Running Canyon, it's that one where they had to build this big walkway around it up at the top. They called it the Running House. And the other one was on Skyline Drive in the Hollywood Hills. So I lived on a home quite similar to these, although again, this is like next level, especially if you see inside. And so what happened was, that became normal to me, you know, that a party is about 500 grand. It's a party. Yeah, it's about 500K, put on a little event. Oh, you know, Christmas tree lights, yeah, you pay about 50 grand. My buddy Mike, he would also come in into the room whenever I was doing menial tasks like editing, and he would scream at me and say, you'll never get rich when you just sit there doing editing, because the fact that you can't scale it. You're working in the business, you're not building systems, working on the business. So by hanging out with somebody who's rich, he always used to say to me, Owen, the people that are billionaires, they're playing a different game. So you've got to be aware of that. They're playing a different game. Look, I'm not someone who's entirely money driven, but I do think money is an important part of life. So I try to gain influence from a lot of different people, and that's why I go try on the rich clothes, go try test driving a Ferrari, go try test driving a Lamborghini. I would go do things like wear clothes that were a little bit too expensive. Later, as I could afford them, I actually started buying clothes like that. I probably wound up buying a couple $1 million in clothes. Now, when I'm walking around dress like a rich guy, probably in styles that are so obscure you don't even know what they are, but dress like a rich guy, feeling like a rich guy, living a rich guy lifestyle. What happens is that the money or the sense of hierarchy and status begins to reorient in your mind where you would feel weird to do otherwise. Does that mean that you need to go buy some expensive suit off the jump? Actually, some people say that. A guy named Dan Pena says that. I think. That's my understanding. But I'm not necessarily saying that you have to do that. What I would just say is go try it on. Just go try it on. Go visit places where people have money and just realize, oh, this is like a real thing. This isn't some fake thing. This is like a real thing. I'd even say to you, go participate in anything that's free right off the jump. So if you live in LA, go to the Getty Museum. If you live in New York, go to the Guggenheim, go to the Met, go to MoMA, go to these expensive museums. Go see things that are free. People that are really rich, like the Getty family, the Guggenheim family, and I've been to their private estate in LA too, the parties they do. What you want to do is they will often, as a legacy project, build these beautiful facilities that any regular person can go and see. If you live in LA, go take a boat to Catalina Island. If you live on the East Coast, go take a boat to Nantucket. Go take a boat to Martha's Vineyard. And just get a sense of, oh, look, this is old money. This is how people that are out here act. This is the vibe that they have. Do things like going to a very, very expensive coffee shop and get a $25 motherfucking latte sitting in the fanciest hotel in your town. And just watch different people come in and allow that to be something that to you just becomes normal. This kind of thing can become normal very, very, very quickly. And if you can couple being very unhappy with your current situation, having gratitude for your life and your soul, but being unhappy with yourself that you're not engaging more and putting in more effort and living up to your potential and achieving your financial freedom so you can go enjoy your life, well, what winds up happening is that your brain will begin to reorient. And look, here's the best part. In my experience, your brain kind of just gets you rich for you. It's like, and I know that sounds crazy, but honestly, your brain sort of just does the work for you. Like, do you really think the average rich person just thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks till they're rich? Or do you think that to some extent they have a sense of identity, like I'm this person, this is who I am, and then the brain is looking to fill in all the blanks and to make that real, whatever that identity is, to make that real. So for example, you know, if a kid in high school decides to become a goth, and then maybe they go to Hot Topic and they get a little, you know, some fuzzy armbands and, I don't know, a pirate eye patch or something, whatever goth kids do, right? Well, if they wind up doing that, they will eventually start to take on that identity. And as they take on that identity, it will begin to flesh itself out. They will begin to become that person in its entirety. So that's what I'm trying to say here is allow that effect to occur to where you have an identity as this is the person that I am, and then just watch as your subconscious mind starts saying, oh wait, well this is how I'd act. This is how much money I need to make. These are paths that I see opening in order to make money. And all of a sudden, it will all just become very, very obvious to you because what will happen is that your reticular activation system, your RAS, will see the paths that you need to take, and it will just become clearer to you, and you'll feel like you're being fake or incongruent when you're not on that path. So you'll automatically just find that your unconscious mind finds ways to make money. And I'll talk to you about other important skills in this video, but understand that the baseline is begin to take on the identity as someone who's got cash, and you'll find that a lot of the work is just done by your unconscious mind. In my experience, the next thing you've got to do is make yourself very, very uncomfortable with your current situation. So you've got to motivate yourself that your current situation completely sucks. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So if I'm in a seminar, the way that I would talk to you if I'm trying to motivate you would be very, very different than if I met you in real life. In real life, if I see a single mother who is driving a truck to feed her children, I'm not going to start calling her a plebeian or say that she's, working in modern day slavery. I'd say what you're doing is very, very honorable. I love you. You're amazing. You're a star. Keep going. If I feel that she's not asked for advice, she's not in a seminar environment. So she's using the mental and physical and time resources that she has to do as best as she can. If I saw somebody working in a 7-Eleven and he's there to support his family, I got mad love for that person. They're doing honest work. That's beautiful. It's important. It's important that there's people like that. At the same time, you've also got to recognize that if you are trying to get rich, you may not want to buy into that kind of mindset. You may actually want to take on a little bit more of an aggressive stance towards it, even though that might not be what you really believe. Of course you love everybody. Of course you see the value in everybody. Of course everybody doing honest work deserves to be respected and honored. Of course. But in your own case, the problem is that if you say, you know what, I'm an important part of society and I'm doing honorable work and so on and so forth, you may not feel the motivation to actually rise up to the next level. So this is up to you, okay? I'm not trying to make you think in a certain way, but I can only tell you what I've experienced personally and what my clients in seminars will usually relate to me helps them. Basically what you gotta do is you've gotta start talking the way that Grant Cardone talks. In other words, middle-class slavery, sucks being broke, awesome being rich, modern day slavery, you've heard words like brokey. So anything that will motivate you to view your situation as completely sucking is very, very powerful. So what you might want to do is look at things like how much money you need to retire, places that you'd like to go visit and the fact that you can't, things that you'd like to own and the fact that you don't currently own them, trying on jewelry or watches or cars or houses that you genuinely like and you don't have them. Go onto social media and look up places that you'd like to travel to and look them up in great detail and go see exactly what it would cost you. And these things can motivate you because human beings were often motivated by what? Discomfort. You know very, very well that you're motivated by discomfort. So you've got to start making yourself feel very, very, very uncomfortable. And if you're allowing yourself to feel comfortable in your current situation, then you're very, very unlikely to change it. So like I said, in real life, if I see someone working any kind of job, waiter, bartender, I say thank you, I look them dead in the eye, I treat everybody as equal. But in a seminar environment, what I'm trying to do is make you feel terrible for your current situation. So I'm playing a little bit of a cartoon character. That is my presentation that I'm doing. It's not what I really feel, but it's my presentation. What I really feel is that most people honestly just don't have an opening and they don't really care enough to go get rich. But if you're somebody who's watching a video on it, you sought it out, you came and asked, then yes, brokey, middle class, wage slave, horrible. And then I'm gonna get you to start looking at how garbage your retirement's gonna look, the kind of sickness that's gonna happen if you can't eat organic foods or do things like supplements or take Eastern herbs, what it costs to have a nice sauna, cold plunge, can't afford these things, can't even afford probiotics, how that affects your brain, how basically poverty is sort of like a cycle, you can't get out of it, you're in a derp state, you're being lazy, you're being unmotivated, you're not living up to your potential, you're sucking, you're eating logs of shit, and so on and so forth. And what we want to do is we want to paint a vivid picture in absolute clarity. You want to become an absolute expert in how much it sucks not to have cash. And what you want to do is you want to focus on the higher spiritual reasons that you want to make cash, live your purpose, contribute to the world, be able to do things like charity, add to your children, take your children around to different beautiful places. Like my kids aren't with me here in Newport, which sucks, but definitely next time I'm on the East Coast, because they were with me last 10 days. They had to go back to school. But next time I'm on the East Coast, for sure, I'm going to bring them to Newport. They're going to go to the museums. They're going to hike Mansion Row here. Maybe there's some kind of private tour of Mansion Row. I bet you there's probably something like that, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to make sure they do the tours, they get educated, they have fun, they enjoy their childhood. I want that for my kids. I want them eating healthy food. I want them to have private tutors. I want them to learn about business. I want them not to be stuck in one location and kind of like furthering the cycle of that middle-class slavery, and so on and so forth. Modern-day slavery. I don't want them to become a modern-day slave. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want it for you. I want to make videos where I come out here specifically to show you, to motivate and inspire you. I want to change your life. I want to be somebody that people can look at and say, oh, cool, Owen did it. He's a regular guy. I can do it too. Those are higher self reasons. Day-to-day reasons, to me, honestly, a lot about it is a lot of it is just natural health. I like to take high-end ginsengs, reishi, chaga, lion's mane. Wild blueberries are freaking expensive. Like just some wild blueberries with higher nutrient density than a store-bought blueberry is expensive. I like organic foods, healthy foods. I went to a restaurant here that was all health food. It was not cheap, and so on and so forth. I also like to be able to just kind of drive around and go see God's creation, go see the world. I like to live in a beautiful, comfortable home where I can invite friends over. I can do parties there. I can do dinner parties. I can have friends come crash with me. I have a beautiful place that I can do seminars when people come on my events, and that inspires them. It's got a beautiful view. I basically have the pragmatic things that I want for myself and for my kids. And then from there, I also, maybe there's a little bit of egoic reasons. Maybe I just want to flex and floss a little bit. Maybe there's people who absolutely doubted me and pulled a metaphorical knife out and stabbed it in my back. And some small part of me wants to say, hey man, you know what? That was the worst decision you ever made because I'm having a lot of fun and I'm going to push that a little bit in your freaking face. And that's not where I live, and that's not what motivates me. But on a day of low sleep, and if I haven't had any green tea and about 3 hours sleep for maybe 2 days in a row, if I had to work a lot, I try not to do that. It's dumb to do that. But on a day like that, that kind of thinking might start to make a little bit of sense, and it'll motivate me. And what I'm doing is I'm aligning every single part of myself. I have the moving towards the motivation, which is the carrot, and I have the moving away from motivation, which is a stick. So now let's just look in summary what you've done here. You've given yourself the chance to see what being rich is all about. Now you're motivated by it. You've gone into rich areas. You've made it real. You're taking on the new identity. One of the most powerful forces in human psychology is to be congruent to your identity. So now you want to be congruent to that identity. You know why you're doing it. You also know what you're trying to get away from and how miserable it is when you don't have it. And look, if you go from there, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to crush it. So that general picture, as the sun comes out, let's get him right out here. As the sun comes out, that general picture is what creates the motivation. And then from there, what I want to do is I want to look at some of the hardcore skill sets that are going to absolutely change your life. So next up, I want to go through what I think are the most valuable skill sets when it comes to getting rich. And I'm going to make this sort of a quick summary. And in future videos, we could go really, really deep on each. Really, you can spend an hour, 2-3 hours on each of these. But this will just be a summary of it just to make the point. So I'm going to knock these out. First of all, what I'd say is have a clear vision and an emotionally associated vision of the outcome. You know exactly what it is that you're trying to build, and you're emotionally associated to why you want it and the pain you'd feel if you don't get it. But you want absolute clarity on that vision you want. The reason why is because when you don't have this, your friends are going to gossip, or people put marijuana in front of you, alcohol in front of you, stupid social media in front of you, and they'll distract you. And what winds up happening is if you have a North Star, you will wind up continually driving towards that goal. So you have to be emotionally associated to why you want it and how bad it would be if you don't have it. The next one is attention span. And look, I make hires all the time. I could care less if someone went to Harvard. To me, that's garbage. All that I care about is, can this person hold their attention span? And I'm gonna be real with you. The average video editor that I have, if they send me a video and it's a draft, I'll send them back corrections, and they can't even pay close enough attention to the time codes to put in the corrections where I gave them the time code. I could give them a general video where it's very, very obvious how they should cut it, and in most cases, I'm gonna have to send it back 2-3 times because they're not able to flex their mental muscle for long enough. They get mentally tired quickly. A lot of video editors smoke weed, a lot of them drink, a lot of them look at attention span depleting social media, eat processed foods, and as a result, it's really hard to find great editors. If you're watching one of these videos, say thank you to the editor who actually did put in the video and paid enough attention to make it look great. But I have a hard time with that. Same thing with accountants, same thing with lawyers, same thing with marketers. I mean, honestly, it's almost impossible to find anybody that has a damn attention span. And you can see by just looking in their eyes how long they're able to hold attention. So I'll do things like 2-3 hour videos, and you'll see in the comments, too long didn't read and things like that. And it's like, hey buddy, I put 20 years into learning what it is that I'm showing you. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars to curate it, and I'm giving you all this completely for free. And the best that you have for me is TLDR. I get it, we're all busy, I understand. But what do you really think someone's gonna write in the comments as some summary like, find your purpose, or something like that? It's a self-brainwashing process in order to shift your identity. So as a result of that, it doesn't matter what someone would write back to them, even if somebody was nice or use artificial intelligence to give a video summary. You need to actually be immersed in that self-indoctrination of wanting to be rich. That's just how it works. That's the reality of it. So people just lack an attention span these days. Also, it's so funny. My team will cut reels or short little snippets of videos that I do, and there's no way that you can actually put the nuance of a 2-hour video, 1-hour video, even a 20-minute video into a snippet. But people will literally look at that and say, hey, how come I didn't understand everything from this reel? Because they really believe that a TikTok or a reel could give them what they need to be a multimillionaire. Do you understand the degree of disconnectedness from reality that someone would have to think that? But they really believe it's possible. And they live in a world of short attention span, and apps like TikTok basically exploit that and shorten their attention span further and further and further. We marketers, we wind up pandering to it. I myself, I'm a little different. I'll take you somewhere in nature, somewhere beautiful, try to teach you to hold your attention. But most people are not doing that, and I kind of play a little bit back and forth. So you've got to have an attention span. You will not get rich without an attention span unless you're like a Kai Cenat video streamer who just goes, wah! And all that, in which case you probably get rich. But other than that, you've got to have an attention span. And even he'll suffer for lack of an attention span. Next one is lateral thinking. Back when I was in college, I'd be taking classical literature, and I would go read the Odyssey of Homer. And the first four chapters of Odyssey of Homer, his son Telemachus just decides he's going to go find his dad. And they would say to me, write a 6-page essay just on why Telemachus wants to go find his father Odysseus. So I remember being in college and just saying, how am I going to write 6 pages on that? It's his dad. Sentence 1, it's his fucking dad. Step number 2, it'd be awesome if his dad came home. Sentence number 3, he misses his dad. How am I going to come up with 6 pages of that? But what college would teach us is to look at overarching themes of the book, historical context, cultural context, and if you were to just say write a couple paragraphs on the themes of the Odyssey itself, the cultural context, the overall character arc and things like that, well, all of a sudden now you have 6 pages. But if you've never developed those lateral thinking muscles where you can be a little bit more expansive, that's where you'll struggle to do things like free associative public speaking. If you walk up to someone who you'd like to attract or converse with, you're going to struggle to find out what to say because you're just like, hi, what do you do? Where do you come from? Do you like that? Because your mind is unable to think laterally. So you've got to train your brain as a muscle to be able to first of all hold the desire of what it is that you want, hold the revulsion from what it is that you don't want, hold a very, very clear vision of where it is that you're trying to get to emotionally associate to that vision, to have an attention span to get yourself there, and to have lateral thinking so that you can be creative and find interesting solutions that other people never thought of. You've got to be thinking laterally all the time. The next one is value for time and management of time. So this is the big one. You hear it all the time where people will say, like rich people will say, if I got offered $1,000 to do lunch, I wouldn't do it because I realized that the actual value of my time when building my business is worth way more than $1,000. And you hear these things, you say, that's impossible. Later, as you actually build your business, or if you're working as an entrepreneur inside a company and you're trying to get a high return on investment on that time, what you're gonna realize is that there's 1,000 million trillion gazillion different people and forces and energies try to suck away your time. And that's why you need a very, very clearly emotionally associated vision to what it is that you're trying to do. You just have to have it. There's no way out of it. And so, when that joint gets put in front of your face, or that pizza slice gets put in front of your face, or whatever, that significant other that's dramatic, that's taking you away from that vision that you're associated to, both positively and negatively. Well, if you're not able to have value for your time and management of your time, you're screwed. Okay, so again, that warrants a whole other video. I'm just knocking these through here because I feel like by knocking them together, you start to see the commonalities. That's the goal that I'm going for here. Next one is you got to be good at finding the cracks in the dam. So you've got to be able to find things where other people have not thought of it yet. When I realized that an entire generation of people lack social skills and that I myself struggle with it and I could teach it, I saw a crack in the dam. But the other huge one right now is personal brands and obviously AI. Now, 99% of people are not going to be AI programmers, so I think personal brand is massive. Why? Because you have billions and billions in infrastructure that is there in social media applications to get your message out there. Literally, people are monitoring your phone, listening to what you're saying to serve you up the right content. So let's say, for example, that you lived in a small town and only like 10 people wanted your product or service. Well, with social media, you can find the 10 people in each little town and you can become a multimillionaire because you have access to billions and billions in infrastructure. It's probably trillions, to be honest with you, whatever it is. It's insane how much infrastructure access you have. That's personal brand, massive crack in the dam. Coaching's a massive crack in the dam. Entertaining, public speaking, charisma, being a connector, learning sales copywriting are all cracks in the dam. Marketing and so on and so forth. I would look those up. Those are sort of the inroads that you have now. Start making money, make enough money that you could buy back your time. You don't have to work all the time. You can start enjoying your life and you can also make investments. And then you start becoming an investor and then you scale that money. The other one is understanding business models. You walk into a restaurant, start asking yourself, where's the margins here? What do the people get paid? What do the managers get paid? What's the rent on this place? What is the margin? How much can they make on the food? What are the specials? And so on and so forth. Any single idea that you have, study the business model and how other people do it extensively. Next up, you can probably guess what I'm gonna say next, mentors. Make sure that you have great mentors. That could be free mentors online, books as free mentors. What you wanna have are usually a couple mentors that you're paying, a bunch of peers that are at your level that you mastermind with, and then people who you're teaching to reinforce those lessons. Next one, throw your hat over the fence. Go tell everybody, I'm gonna be fucking rich. I'm not gonna be broke, fuck being broke, I'm gonna be rich. What's the best way to get yourself to jump over a fence? Throw the hat over the fence. Now you have to jump over the fence, you don't have a choice. The old classic thing they say is burn the boats. When the Greeks, like we said in the Odyssey, when Odysseus stormed Troy with Achilles and so on and so forth, what do they do right away? They burn the boats, they light it on fire, because if you don't light those boats on fire, what's gonna wind up happening is you have a way out. And you're not gonna dig as deep as far as being internally resourceful. So what you wanna do is you want to be very, very internally resourceful. You wanna burn the boats and make it where you have zero choice. Next one, you gotta learn how to spiritually and energetically renew yourself, because you're not gonna have a great attention span if you don't know how to eat the right foods, and if you don't spiritually go do things that make you feel good in between. You need spiritual renewal. You need to take real breaks. It's not black or it's not gray zone, it's black or white. In other words, don't be at work stressing about how you're not relaxing. Don't be relaxing, stressing about work. Fully work, fully lock in, fully unplug. You see me shooting this video, I'm locked in. I'm not worried that I can't be relaxing. When I go to relax, I want to shoot another video tomorrow in Washington, D.C. I'm gonna drive down there, I'm gonna relax in the whole car right down, and tomorrow, bam, we're going in. We're gonna shoot a crushing video in Washington, D.C. Maybe on some of these topics and go deeper on them. So you see the general idea. Let's just sort of summarize this then. What you have is shifting the identity, massively, massively burning the boats, associating to it, building the skills, and making sure that you're managing your time and energy. Looking for cracks in the dance for business models, becoming obsessed with it, top to bottom, and making it the total focus of your life, along with, of course, some spiritual renewal, and doing that for a period of time until you've got enough time to take time off from work, and you've got enough time, and you've got enough capital to make hires and to invest. Once you've got to that point, you've got the ball rolling. Now you're getting out of being a wage slave. You can start traveling. You start enjoying your life. You start also having, ideally, a freedom to travel around and to go meet different people, and your life starts to go up and up and up. So it's been amazing to be back out here in Newport, Rhode Island. I love taking road trips. I actually started off in New York, then I went to Boston. Now I'm headed down to Washington, D.C. And so I always take the time to stop off at beautiful places whenever I'm on the road. And part of why I do that is specifically because of this last principle that I want to share with you, which is what? Raising your vibe. Now, what does it mean that you have to raise your vibe if you want to be successful? Look, this is just my personal point of view. I'm going to share it with you. And I learned a lot of this from personal growth. So we tend to believe that the reason why we are unhappy is because of our circumstances. Like, oh, I'm broke, and that's why I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy because I'm broke. I'm unhappy because I don't have a significant other. I'm unhappy because I'm lonely. I'm unhappy because I don't have what I want, and I'm a victim, and so on and so forth. But while that is true to some extent, definitely to some extent, for sure, a lot of it is also that unhappiness becomes an actual addiction. You get addicted to that unhappiness. Have you ever seen somebody maybe from the inner city, a very, very rough part of town, and you walk up to them and you're very, very friendly, but they look like they're ready to fight you? The reason why that is because if you've lived in a rough neighborhood all growing up and you've been in a lot of fights, over time, your body wants to create a situation where you're used to just being in fights. You're just used to it. That way it feels normal to you. It feels normal and familiar to you to be in fights all the time. So let's say that you see somebody who grew up in a very, very rough neighborhood and you're like, hey, what's up, man? And they're like, what you looking at? What you fucking looking at? What the fuck you looking at? And you're like, yo, bro, I'm just saying what's up. And they're like, and they're distrustful of you. That's because their body has adjusted from all the fights, which is terrible. It's horrible. They've gone through this, but their body has adjusted and acclimated to being mad all the time. And so what starts happening is they have selective focus, that's reticular activation system, and their selective focus is looking for things that offend them, for things that are affronts, for things that are conflict driven. And then the cortisol and adrenaline that they get is so familiar to them that they think that they're mad because you're looking at them, but in reality, the cortisol and adrenaline is just looking for any excuse to fire off whatsoever. Now, the same person who's coming from the inner city could have incredible artistic talent. They could have incredible entrepreneurial drive. All sorts of things, right? Including people that wind up dealing drugs. They have incredible entrepreneurial drive. Imagine if they actually reallocated that to something legal, what they could do. So it's one of these things where they've got drive, they've got talent. Who knows what they have going for them? Very smart, whatever the case, right? But if they're coming from an environment where there's conflict all the time, what's going to happen is their selective focus is going to miss the opportunities where they could create a legal business. Or maybe they meet someone who could help them in business and they wind up alienating that person because they look all angry and so on and so forth. So what happens is that the reality becomes entrenched. They get addicted to it. Now, conversely, look, why do I make sure that when I'm on the road, say that I'm in New York, and then I'm going to go to Boston next week to run events. I'm going to make sure that I shoot up to Acadia, Maine. I'm going to go to Cape Cod. I'm going to go see all the beautiful leaves. I'm going to go to Kennebunkport, to Portsmouth. On my way from Boston down to DC, I'm going to stop by Newport, Rhode Island. I'm going to check out the beautiful restaurant up there. I'm going to laugh with my friends. I'm doing that because I want to train my inner homeostasis to want to be happy, to want to be prosperous, and most important of all, to be grounded and to be at peace. Just to be at peace. Look, even in saying this, if you're going to have a significant other and you're wealthy, let me say something to you. Emotional regulation and the ability to resolve conflict quickly and to get back to emotional baseline quickly is by far the single most important quality in your significant other, aside from a foundation of really loving them and being attracted to them. As long as you love them, you're attracted to them, which is just sort of a mandatory, the baseline, the number one thing that you have to have in a partner is the ability to be emotionally regulated. Why is that? Well, it's the exact same thing. Look, I will honestly give the right to anybody in a romantic relationship that if they want to pipe off or be emotional, that's their right. They should absolutely have the right to do that. But they should not do that if their significant other is an entrepreneur who at any point could be running up a lot of expenses and have a lot of payroll to meet, payroll obligations, expenses obligations to meet. And if they go below profitability, they could spiral into hundreds of thousands or even millions in debt. And so, you know, if you're somebody where you're going to build a business and you have expenses every month or you don't have a guaranteed paycheck every month, you better make sure that you are emotionally regulated, that you can resolve internal conflict quickly, and that you can get back to emotional baseline quickly, and that you like to laugh and you like to be happy, but also make sure that the people that you work with, and most important is your significant other, has that capacity to get back to emotional baseline very, very quickly. That doesn't mean that you couldn't do something wrong and own up to it or learn from it. Maybe it is you. Don't use that like, you're not getting back to emotional baseline. Don't use that to, as a Nerf bat to whack someone with, metaphorically. But rather just realize that you have to be the role model of getting back to emotional baseline quickly, and you want to be around people who get back to emotional baseline quickly. Now, from there, you've got to have it to where, because you enjoy being happy, if you're working a 9 to 5 that you hate, you don't resonate with it. Your mind just says, no, I don't want to use my RES, my selective focus, to find ways to stay here. This sucks. My selective focus is going to be built on things that get me back to the emotional baseline that I resonate with. So in a funny way, if you could just train yourself to go in the outdoors and to be at peace, maybe to go watch a bit of stand-up comedy, to do things that actually would get you present to the moment and create that nice, beautiful sense of just being in the now and loving your life, well then, when you have that inside yourself, your external reality will come to be a manifestation of what it has that you have going on inside you. Your selective focus will find lanes and find opportunities and cause you to concentrate on and put emotional bandwidth and mental bandwidth into those things that give you opportunities, and you will just simply be drawn to that better life. Now, in addition to that, I'm just going to add on a bit of biology here. If you also feel on some level that you're not strong enough and ready for the criticism that comes with being successful, you'll also shy away from it because, honestly, part of your brain says, well, if I had success, maybe I'd have more mating opportunities and dating opportunities, which, of course, in reality, social skills will get you that. But you'll think that in your mind wrongly. And what'll happen is your brain thinks, well, if I have all this attention and opportunities, what if I don't have the clout to back that up? What if I have imposter syndrome? And what if other people come punching me in the face and hate on me? What if I'm dating someone more attractive than I could normally date, and I wind up getting jealous because someone else likes them and they wind up running off with them and things like that? So your mind also has a lot of internal success barriers. So a lot of this comes down to raising your vibe and raising and getting comfortable with your internal sense of status. Once you have those things down to where you can own being that internal 10, which I'd really prefer that you call one of one, because not comparing yourself. It's collaborative when you're just one of one, or when you are one of one. It's not just one of one, when you are one of one. But in addition, when you're comfortable being happy, being positive, you will naturally just say, this is who I am. I've started that process of an identity level shift. The most powerful force in human psychology is to be congruent to your identity. I have kind of thrown a monkey wrench into the gears of my low-level identity and my negative emotional addictions, my low vibe addiction, and now I've sort of stumbled my way through like anybody stumbling through life learning, and I've got to the point where I have normalized being happy and being high status. Well, once you have that, guess what's going to happen? It's just going to be normal to you. And rather than being stuck in some boring place, you'll be out in Nantucket and Cape Cod and Acadia and Rhode Island and Mansion Row and national parks and skiing and nature and beautiful museums and fancy restaurants and fancy clothes and Rodeo Drive and Soho and traveling through Europe in summer at Mykonos. It'll all be normal. It'll all be normal. And that'll become who you are. But it all starts with simply saying to yourself, you know what, I want something more for myself. I don't like where I'm at. And I'm going to initiate that alchemizing process of personal transformation to get to where it is I want to go and to become the person who I want to be. Now, of course, we all know that we're equal in the eyes of God, and you have to know who you are beyond all this. But these are the pragmatic tools that you use to build a very beautiful life. And when you have heaven within yourself, your external reality will manifest that heaven outside of you. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll find it worthwhile, and you'll be a much, much better father, friend, business owner, and contributor to society when you do this. I love it. I love it for you. I know you're going to do it. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to teach you. And right now, I'm just going to go for dinner, enjoy my night, raise my vibe, and I hope you're doing the same. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.